me, if you are compromising the profit and the performance of the business, you are then not acting in the best interest of shareholders. You can easily get fired. You should in fact be firing yourself. Now, how then do we do that? I think for me, it's more on implementing certain things that at basic they are there. You mentioned one thing that I liked, the vetting of tenants, number one. I like that. It's very important to vet tenants, guys. And vetting of tenants could mean many things. It could be speaking to the previous landlord. It could be checking their credit profile, right? With their consent, checking their credit profile if they will be able to pay you. You could imagine that getting someone who's under debt review could be an indicator, not necessarily that that person might not be able to pay you, but it could be a situation where you like, will this person actually give me or pay me? Or am I going to hear stories on a monthly basis, right? So that is part of vetting. And through that vetting, you're obviously going to request certain documents that are necessary for you to do vetting. Okay. And I think for me, such information could be the bank statement, could be the pay slip, obviously pulling a credit report where you are able to see the credit score and everything of that particular person to ensure that what kind of a tenant are you dealing with. And obviously also during that process of vetting, it could be that what you're doing with interviews, if you've got time, and just to gauge what type of values that particular tenant might be having, you understand. And I think that's also very, very, very clear. You need to ensure that such things are implemented. How deep you go in terms of vetting, it differs from one landlord to the next. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's an issue of lease agreement. I never give the tenant a key without having signed a lease agreement, because a lease agreement is a guiding tool that is we're gonna always reference when we reference to when there are certain disagreements or discrepancies between the two parties. And I think that is crucial that you've got a lease agreement. Normally, lease agreement, don't draft lease agreement. I wouldn't advise that you draft lease agreement or you Google lease agreement. I'll say build relationship with eviction attorneys. They tend to have experience in dealing with tenants, and they'll tell you when a lease agreement is actually not up to scratch. So rather engages with them. Sometimes they even say, if you are giving us opportunities to do your conveyancing or eviction, they tend to give you all those documents for free. Okay. Or you can buy those bundles that some of these rental prop tech companies like TPN are having. They've got this bundle lease agreement that they tend to review on a yearly basis also, I think so. I stand to be corrected. But then you can buy a bundle. Sorry?
You said, what's the name?
TPN, TPN.
TPN. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, there's a company called TPN. It's one of the rental property management, whatever. They are known for having stats and all this behavioral and all those things. So you can do that. Number 3, always ensure that you get deposit. But the issue of deposit also gets influenced by which area you're playing in. And I'll give you an example. Yes. In student accommodation, certain areas asking for deposit can be a very hard sell. And yeah, in such a way that some of us have got a vacant property as we speak, because the demand is not that much where the property is. I think we were learning, we didn't do much what do you call this thing? Market study in that area. So we are literally being punished. So, but like I said, deposit could be another issue that you might want to put a consideration on that. Okay. Then, and the fourth thing could also be issue of passing on certain expenses to the tenant, issues of electricity, so that it doesn't really put too much burden on your what do you call, on your cash flow, like where you're splitting the meters and splitting the you creating sort of a self-contained units that the tenants can look after themselves, so that should the tenants not be able to pay, it doesn't affect the well-being of other tenants. Because if three tenants don't pay, but you've got the other three good tenants, you could end up losing good tenants, because the good tenants tend,
Definitely, that was my fear.
yes, good tenants tend to move on very fast, because they feel that they honor their end of their stick, so should the landlord, and it's not their problem that the other tenants are not paying. So therefore, you might want to sort of separate the tenants in terms of what do you call these things, units, so that you don't have to be dealing with such issues. So it could be that you create some sort of a self-contained units, and then you are able to safeguard yourself around that. Okay. I think the other thing, maybe dealing with tenants, it's also building some sort of a community. A community, and I think community also helps, in a sense that where you've got some form of engagement outside of just only providing accommodation, and without without you making them feel sorry for you. I'll give you an example. In my case, I created students mentorship. I mentor my tenants who are students. So that's just it goes close to my personality, but it might not work for you. It could work for the next person. Okay. And then I think another thing when it comes to managing tenants, I tend not to tell the tenants that I own the properties. And as a result, I always make sure that I separate roles. And as a result, I separate roles. They always have to deal with somebody else on issues of rental at the office. I always have an administrator who deals with rental. I deal with maintenance and the well-being of the tenants, rather than dealing with the issues of money, so that I don't feel sorry for them. Okay. And then the seventh thing, I mentioned the separating of roles when I was still there. The issue of managing defaulters, delinquent tenant. You need to ensure that implement policies, um, delinquent policies. You need to ensure that you deal with delinquent tenant very efficiently, rather than when the tenants default immediately, are always sent. They start the process of eviction. That doesn't mean that I'm evicting them, but I don't want the situation where come later on, they then what do you call, they pull out, and well, I've not even started the process of, because it can take longer to evict a delinquent tenant. Okay. um Another thing is that to deal with those type of shenanigans where someone says they'll pay but then they don't pay, I always make sure people sign a debt acknowledgement letter. Then in that case, that is a legally binding agreement. I can always take them to court, and sue them, or obtain court judgment against their name. Then they fail to exist in the world of financial sector, and that's how they apply for poverty. So